When it comes to gaming, there's a lot of stuff out there. If you're trying to keep up with the latest news, streams, or memes, or just trying to stay on top of your game, it can get really overwhelming. It becomes clear that there's a lot for you to worry about while gaming, but it doesn't have to be that way. Meet Zach, your gaming assistant. The more you play together, the smarter Zach will get. Using a combination of your game library and feedback that you provide, Zach will show you the most important updates about your progress in gaming and the latest drama and news from the web. He analyzes all sorts of information about your personal setup, as well as the topics from the web to learn about what's important to you and provide you with all the information you could ever want in the most convenient way possible. And after he shows you what is most important, he lets you know that you can give feedback to let him know how relevant the information being shown is to you. The more you tell him, the better he gets, and Zach will quickly become your ultimate gaming companion. Check it out and download Zach at the link in the description. And big thanks to Zach for sponsoring our channel and help making our videos possible. And enjoy the rest of the video. You know, we've talked a lot about canceled champions, canceled abilities, canceled skins, all sorts of canceled stuff on this channel, and today we've got a particularly exciting one as we're looking at what might actually be the oldest canceled champion in League of Legends ever made. Probably at least, and that is Rob Blackblade, who was scrapped way back in 2009. He was discovered in the game files in March of 2009, which was during the alpha test of League of Legends, back when there was like, I don't know, 20 champions in the game or something like that. So today we're going to take a look into his theme, his old abilities, and what he could maybe be like if he was released as a champion today. So if you enjoyed the video, definitely let us know in the comment section below, leave a like, and maybe subscribe for some more videos. Now we have to remember this is a champion from 2009, but in his first appearance, Rob Blackblade appears to be a generic kind of rogue sort of character almost, which does go well with his title, which was Rob Blackblade, the Dashing Rogue. Armed with a dagger, headband, leather armor, and way too many leather satchel bag looking like things, he's kind of got like a necklace of them going on. He has also a giant codpiece bag. It's quite an interesting design really. And he also had actually a second model that was a little bit more reasonable, sporting studded red leather armor with a blue cloth, an eye patch, and a decidedly more swashbuckling kind of sword. He also had another title for his design as well, which was Rob Blackblade the Adventurer, and I think that fits this model pretty well. Where most early League of Legends champions were actually based on characters from the original Defense of the Ancients heroes, to some extent here or there, I don't really see that kind of comparison with Rob Blackblade all that much. His Adventurer model maybe looks like a custom skin for a footman from Warcraft 3, maybe a Defias Brotherhood member from World of Warcraft, but nothing really pops out as an immediate parallel from Dota, at least aesthetically. Where the game originally when it was being made was almost entirely a clone of Dota, and then slowly over time Riot Games updated League of Legends to be less and less like Dota here and there, until eventually the beta where the game was pretty significantly different. Rob Blackblade didn't have that much of a published lore or theme. I mean, most champions at the time didn't really, but if I had to take a guess, the Dashing Rogue seems almost like a Robin Hood stereotype of character. Maybe he fills all the pockets by stealing valuables from the rich and giving them to the poor. Maybe he was just a handsome deceiver type of character with not really good intentions whatsoever. It's not that easy to say, at least. The Adventurer, on the other hand, sounds pretty simple. He's kind of just an adventurer. He could have been maybe like a melee EZREAL seeking treasures in dungeons and other kind of interesting places. With the eye patch, he could have also been attached to Bilgewater. Maybe he had a lore tie-in with Gangplank. He could have been adventuring in search of like a long-lost pirate treasure. That's kind of a cool story. I mean, maybe that's believable. Let's leave it at that though. So we need to get to the real meat of the character, the exciting part, his abilities. So keep in mind that these are 2009 era League of Legends abilities. It was a much simpler time back then, and most of the characters had abilities that were very heavily limited by the technological aspect of the game. Tons of abilities didn't make it into the game back in the day, just because Riot couldn't figure out how to actually make them. And in general, just a large shortage of complex abilities. Rob Blackblade was actually classified as a caster character, which at this point meant that they just used their abilities to do damage, as there was no attack damage scaling in the game whatsoever at the time actually, thus the term ability power and not spell power or something like that. Rob Blackblade's passive was called Liberate. Unfortunately, there isn't all that much information on what this ability actually did, but seeing as he was a dashing rogue or adventurer type character looking for loot, probably he gained some kind of extra gold for doing something. Maybe extra gold on minion kills. That was actually a very common effect to have on tons of different abilities for different champions at the time. Something that would scale with levels seemed like a pretty reasonable passive for this point in development. A lot of passives at the time were just barely useful, didn't really make all that much sense from a design perspective, or in many cases were kind of just pointless. I mean, Evelyn's original passive made minions do 50% reduced damage to her. That's what passives were back then. Ashe's original passive made her next auto attack crit, but only after like literally 30 seconds of not attacking. Anyway, they made sense lore-wise, but not really gameplay-wise, so extra gold on kill seems pretty reasonable here, and it's actually a kind of thing that existed on Twisted Fate, Ashe, I believe Gangplank as well, and maybe even some other characters too, so it's not uncommon at the time. Rob's Q was Vital Blow. He strikes a Vital Blow on the target, dealing some damage. If Rob is stealthed, then he stuns the target. If he's visible, then he sleeps the target. Back then, sleep was a very early debuff that kind of worked like a stun, except the effect would end if the target took damage. This ability doesn't sound too crazy, but at max level the stun was 3 seconds long and the sleep was 6 seconds long, which is just insane for a point and click crowd control effect. Next, we've got Rob's W, which was Ambush, where he would go into stealth and move faster. Interestingly, this is the same name as Twitch's Q and does pretty much the exact same thing actually, substituting attack speed on reveal for movement speed during stealth. If this was anything like Twitch or Evelyn's old stealth, it would last 50 seconds at max rank, and given the movement speed buff, it would probably make the enemy team very wary of going anywhere alone, and if you did, you better have had that good old Oracle's Elixir or some pink wards. Moving on to Rob's E, which was GUTBUSTER. This ability threw a dagger that did damage and could crit for 3 times based on Rob's critical strike chance. This is actually pretty similar to Shaco's 2-Shiv Poison without the slow ability. It seemed like Rob might have been the original stealth character for League, as he seemed to have little bits and pieces from all the other old stealth champions. However, you have to remember that Rob Blackblade was actually probably made before Evelyn, before Twitch, before Shaco, before all these other characters that had stealth. So it does seem like other characters in League of Legends might have taken inspiration from the original design of Rob Blackblade. And finally, we have Rob Blackblade's ultimate, Bravado, and this is where it gets super crazy, if it wasn't already. Anyway, when activated, this ability made all of Rob Blackblade's attacks critical hits for the next 11 seconds at max rank. Critical attacks for 11 seconds straight. I'm thinking this ability set Rob's crit chance to 100% for the duration, meaning that it would also synergize with his E, and that definitely sounds like a bad time for all of his enemies. This would have just been insane. I mean, imagine the pick potential where you just pop out of stealth with your 3-second stun, followed by a barrage of insane critical hits and a triple damage ranged crit ability to finish you off when you try to run away. And if the enemy just tries to flash away using that super long flash range at the time, I think the flash range was like 1100 back then, you would just finish them off with that pointy dagger that would crit for 3 times the damage. This guy sounds like he honestly would have been just so overpowered and just a monster of a character. It could have been extra fun if he was around for the Sword of the Divine item when he had 3 guaranteed crits. It's pretty weird that they labeled him as a caster. His E was the only real ranged ability and the only one that primarily does damage, but back then the labels for characters were just all over the place, and I mean, they were just really insane. So I wouldn't be surprised if that was just like a temporary label or just something on accident or like a placeholder for later on when they developed his kit further. So you know, he had a model, he had basically a full kit, so why wasn't Rob Blackblade released? Now according to Riot EZREAL, he was actually pulled because he didn't fit with the game's artistic theme, and the design team didn't really get much inspiration from him. And they said that actually, quote, no aspect of Rob was deemed worthy of keeping. So he was scrapped, and his place in the development cycle was filled by the champion that actually eventually became Udyr. And I have to say, Udyr is a pretty awesomely designed character, so I think we definitely ended up with the superior choice in this case. I could maybe see Rob coming back as like a redesigned pirate champion from Bilgewater. Something like that could be really cool. He could be a more swashbuckling based champion to differentiate himself from the more gunpowder based Gangplank and Misfortune as well, maybe having lore tied into them, or maybe to Nautilus too. I would totally play a sword pirate character. A sword pirate kind of melee style character could be really cool. I mean, what do you guys think about Rob Blackblade, or how he could maybe end up in the game in the future? Definitely let us know in the comment section below, and that's just about everything that we've got for today's video. So thanks for watching, hit that like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you want, and I'll see you guys next time.